in fact, here for the Golden Gophers, and a fitting tribute to a man who contributed to so many lives and so much here in track and field and cross country. You can see decades at the helm, the University of Minnesota program. He's in the Hall of Fame, as he well should be. Multiple titles, All-Americans, the conference and national level. Coach Roy Griak honored here in the 39th running of his namesake Invitational. But just a few minutes away now from the start of this championship race. And Ben, this could be a very hotly contested one. We've seen some dominant wins. I think this one will be close.
No, I agree, and I'm excited to see how it kind of shapes up. I think that last race showed us that people who come in with a plan and execute and also did their summer training will probably pay off. It's still that kind of first big one of the season where athletes really get that opportunity to kind of rub shoulder to shoulder with each other. But normally at this point, there's going to be probably a clear standout when we start getting into those, early Ks.
And some experience here. You see Maddox, Farabee, Riley. Farabee was undefeated last year right up until Nationals, where she finished 7th. A couple names not on there to watch out for. Ciara Hartman, who was 3rd a year ago, and Maddie Gullickson of Wayzata. Well, that's the team battle as we move from Gullickson. And on that team side, they'll be looking to recapture the title they last won in 2022.
Yeah, Wayzata has been just such a staple, in cross country, in running. They have a long historic program of just great team culture. They have great seniors, 4 seniors coming back this year. Maddie already committed to NC State, and excited to see how they fare against Sioux Falls Christian.
Wayzata finished 2nd a year ago by 30 points back of Cardinal Gibbons. Again, Gullickson, their top finisher, there in 4th. Ellie Hagan took the victory a year ago in this race, the Girls' Championship 5K, running 18:02. And as you said, Wayzata returning a couple of those, more than a couple, 4 is what we see on paper. You never know quite who makes it to the line until we get off and running, certainly. But Wayzata, I think they have to be the favorite here. They know this course. Local team, a lot of pride on the line for them.
Yeah, and a lot of great depth of experience. I think that just it's such a great program builder as you've had these historic teams in the past, but also have these seniors that have kind of carried you through, and hopefully to a big culmination in their senior year. This is as Roy Griak is, it's a stepping stone for NXN.
The national scene does look a little different this year. We talked about it previously, and a little bit of a shakeup there, but what remains the same is there will be many chances for these young athletes to show their chops individually and as a team. Wayzata certainly will have their sights set on some national accolades. And we saw the last race, Ben, kind of go according to form. Micah Peters took it out early. Sean Fries ends up with really a commanding victory. I mean, if you pressed me, I'm not sure who I could pick here. Do you have a prognostication? I think a lot of these athletes are coming back having finished, very highly here, or having good seasons with their eyes set on the victory.
Yeah, I think one individual that I'm excited to see is Marissa Farabee, if you want to say. She comes in as the NXR Heartland champ. She's a 5-time individual state champ in Iowa. She's going to be a Razorback next year. I think she's one worth mentioning, and I think she could come in here looking to do something big.
Well, this is the road to the Heartland, if you will. So many local teams here, and the excitement. This is definitely a big one on the calendar all year long, all summer long. Put in those tough, grueling miles, and the day is finally here. It's day number 2 of this Roy Griak Invitational. A little bit of a new format here, spreading it out over 2 days, but I think it has turned out very, very well. Great races from the collegians a day ago. Nice weather on both days, which you as a Minnesota native mentioned, Ben, not always the case, certainly here in September, but We'll take it. A little bit of wind. Of course, maybe a little beat up here from some overnight rain, but nothing too bad. We've seen pretty good times overall, great races, and I expect none different here for the Girls' Championship.
Yeah, and I think there's just such a little bit of difference between yesterday and today. Today you have all those extra numbers in terms of teams out there. We have 8 races today, which just means there's so much more energy all over the course.
I think energy is the right word, certainly. Again, we saw on the boys' side, but there's just so many bodies out there, so many different colored jerseys, and the team tactics will come into play. We'll, of course, focus on some of our leaders, which we'll see. I kind of expect it to be similar to the boys' race, at least in the first, 800 meters or so, first few minutes, to where I think that lead pack, the cream of the crop, will kind of start to separate themselves. From there, it's anybody's guess, but Farabee certainly has to be one of the favorites.
I agree. I think the quote that I take from the last race is controlled chaos.
That's kind of part and parcel across country, but that's why we love it. And finally, the energy is uncoiled. Great starting shot here. You see still the weather good. Conditions matter so much. These cross-country races, so too the course. It is a challenging one. We've seen it time and again throughout the morning on this 5K iteration, where a couple of big hills really come into play kind of in the second half of the race. First mile, you expect things to kind of shake out, a little bit of up and down, but nothing crazy like we'll see later. And already a handful of athletes out to the early lead.
Yeah, and that drone shot is such a great one. As you can see, athletes kind of get bottlenecked here a little bit. And this is where, when we start talking about teams, it's so important for those teams to kind of find each other and start moving through this big group, because it does start to kind of funnel. And if you're kind of at that tail end, again, those 4th, 5th points can really add up.
We'll let things shake out here a little bit, but Farabee, as we've discussed, Iowa State champion on the track over 3,000 meters, running 9:51, and contested the 1,500 there as well. Ran at Nike Outdoor Nationals on the track, as we mentioned, had success in the fall and cross country. So really looking to kind of have a statement here, if you will, during her senior campaign.
Yeah, I think that's Sioux Falls Christian out to the early lead.
We'll get them identified here shortly, but as expected, I really expect there to be kind of a lead pack. I don't know that we'll have one person pull away. Now, we did see that early on the boys' side. And then Sean Freeze used that moment. We talked about this yesterday. What is the marker on the course where you make your move? Sean Freeze used that big first downhill to really break away from Peters and the rest of the field. Be interesting to see if somebody does the same here.
Yeah, I think this race, we just have such a large contingency of great talent within inside this girls' race. We have athletes already committed to colleges for next year that I think maybe it doesn't come down to a point on the course, but you kind of listen for how the other athletes are feeling, how are they breathing, how are they moving, and then maybe make your mark on that.
Brianna Riley making a move here. We saw her on the opening graphic. She started off her cross-country season well, a second at the Augustana Twilight Meet, and then took victory the Heartland Preview, but just a couple of weeks ago, 16:31 personal best over the full 5,000 meters. She's trying to make a statement here. Can you believe it, Ben? Just an 8th grader.
Yeah, we've seen this tale told a few different times that, it just depends on a few different things, but some of these young girls come out and just absolutely crush it. But based on that. On that race in South Dakota that you mentioned, there was a ton of fast times on both boys and girls side. Was the course a little short, or is this the real deal? And I guess we're going to find out here in the next 4K.
What amazes me the most, certainly talent can manifest at any age, but the confidence to stare up against these upperclassmen, people have been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and say, hey, I'm going straight to the lead. Well, no surprise, she was state champion, the 2A class there in South Dakota over cross country a year ago as a 7th grader. So, I mean, the dominance of Brianna Riley at that level is so impressive. And again, she got her part there in the graphic, and rightly so. We talked about a couple other athletes, and I guess, hey, she's making a fool of me. I thought we wouldn't see this big of a gap this early on, but Brianna Riley is trying to open it up here over 5,000 meters, just over 4 minutes in.
Yeah, she's putting a little bit of daylight, and I think one of the nice parts about having such a large crowd on the sideline is you can almost hide in the turns a little bit and get those extra few feet where, you know, your competitors don't necessarily see you right away. But it is early days. We're still only 4 minutes and 30 seconds into this race.
Brianna Riley out of South Dakota, Harrisburg, taking control of it thus far. We'll get these splits here shortly. But no question about who our leader is, as she, in really commanding fashion, has gone out to the lead. And next time, you can see there a little bit of that lead. But next time we get a drone shot, you see a little bit of the course tracker there as well. When we get a drone shot, we'll see really just how big that lead is. And I don't know where that point is, Ben. There's some sort of sliding scale. If you're ahead by this much at this point, I know it doesn't always hold true, but you have to think, hey, if I have a 50, 100-meter lead with X number of meters to go, you have to feel pretty confident about it. Still early, but that's, I think, what she's trying to do.
Yeah, I think the tricky part, though, Trevor, on a cross-country course is you don't necessarily know where the person is behind you, right? There's the turns, and maybe she'll take a peek behind her, but there's always a little bit of, like, question mark, and I think as good athletes kind of move through the course, they're always kind of looking to continue to push themselves. And hopefully we see this today, that she just keeps running up front and strong, but it would make for a great race if somebody came out of this pack. I see a couple jerseys, a Wyzetta jersey back there, so we'll see what happens.
Riley's so impressive on the track this past spring as well. 2:12 over 800 meters, ran 60 point the 400, and moving up to 4:47 over the full mile, ran 3,200 meters in 10:15. I mean, just unbelievable clockings as a 7th grader, and whatever that was 6 months ago, or a little less, I suppose, but still, going into her 8th grade year, I mean, Brianna Riley, if she takes the victory here, that is a lot of good competition that she will have taken down.
Yeah, and I think it kind of solidifies her name as a real contender. To come out here and have such a dominating performance could put her name up on the list of athletes to watch going into the postseason.
First time contesting this Griak competition for Brianna Riley. Certainly making the most of it. Just about 7 minutes in here. Brianna Riley letting us know she is the one to watch, getting a lot of airtime here, as she should. Watch this downhill. We saw some moves from Freeze on the boys' side and others throughout these 2 days of competition, but the downhill here could start to be a deciding factor, of course, as it always is in cross country and life, I suppose, Ben, followed by an uphill. But see how Brianna Riley takes it. That's going to be a big question as we move through the first of these big hills.
And I think that was Maddie from Wyzetta in second there giving chase, and she has a great resume as well. She's going to NC State, and I don't want to count her out yet. We're not halfway through this thing yet, and she looks strong back there.
Just about 5 seconds back, along with Hannah Genrich, if our splits are correct here, also of Harrisburg. So we did see a couple of these maroon jerseys early on. Brianna Riley, of course, has catapulted to the lead, but her teammate Hannah Genrich might be in the mix. Maddie Gullickson, as you said, right there with her. Ellie Maddox of Sioux Falls Christian, who we mentioned, running fourth through that mile. So still plenty of places to be decided.
Yeah, I agree with you, Trevor. I think right now it looks great. She's moving really well, but the race. Now that I see it on this drone shot, we might be seeing the unveiling of the next great.
And that's what I was going to say. That's what we love about these races. And Roy Griak and a number of them, of course, that we mentioned that, are on runner space here. But it's kind of a coming out party. I mean, I think a lot of times for these athletes, you can say, okay, there were whisperings of greatness. There was the talent apparent. But when you get a win in a championship section, we're not giving it to her yet. Under 10 minutes in still, but the race getting further along. But I just think for some of these athletes, internally for themselves and externally as fans and commentators and coaches and parents, you look and you say, hey, that was the moment when we knew that this kid is something special, and I think we're being treated as something special here.
Oh, I agree with you, Trevor. I'm going to switch gears on you, though, and kind of look back at this last split. We have a really good competition between Wayzata and Sioux Falls Christian right now. There's basically 10 points separating them, which means anything can kind of shake out. And some of the questions, right, is as this race gets strung out as we see it, and I don't think either of us kind of predicted this. I would have thought that it would have held together a little bit more. Do coaches on the sidelines advocate for the runners to stay together, or do they give chase?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the question, the mantra of cross-country coaches. Just get one, right? Go get two. Go get purple. Go get the white jersey. Whatever the case is it's all about positioning and placing, and sometimes it's head down grinding, and sometimes it's looking up and putting a target on the back. But if you're in a pack there, I mean, 5K, it's a ways, but it's not that long, so you start to run out of space here, and I think the combination of this challenging course and running in that pack means there's not a lot of time to waste.
Yeah, I agree with you, Trevor, and I think that's what's happening a little bit here in the individuals, right? She took off, and then nobody really covered that move. Nobody gave chase, and I think she was able to put that daylight as we went through those little chicanes, and after that, it's been a one-woman show.
Well, if you don't know the name, you know it now. Brianna Riley trying to make sure we say it over and over again, thus far succeeding here in our championship 5K for the girls. After a great race on the boys' side, Riley, just an 8th grader, coming out here and thus far taking it to the rest of the field, which is full, not of slouches here, Ben. I mean, this is a championship race, a lot of upperclassmen and a lot of great underclassmen as well. Riley running well within herself as of now.
Yeah, and I think as an Inland, as a team, as a coach, you think about Roy Griak as one of those stopping grounds to make your name, but also for some of your athletes to get their name in the recruiting books, get some calls, from coaches from those D1 levels, and I think this is such a highlight of the course here.
Well, and Hannah Genrich, who we mentioned, a youngster herself, just a 9th grader. So those two have been running together for a couple of years there at Harrisburg. And, boy, what a just load of talent they have. We'll see how that shakes out, of course. But Hannah Genrich finished 7th in her section, the championship section of the NXR Heartland region, and was 2nd at the state cross-country meet there as well. So talk about domination. Harrisburg went 1-2. In South Dakota with Riley and Genrich, so no surprise to see them running towards the front here once again. But it is all Riley as of now, coming up on 13 minutes.
Yeah, kind of the story that we saw on the boys' side with Sean. He was such a dominant performance, and sometimes they're surprising when they happen. When you think we're going to come into this race with guys shoulder to shoulder racing, but time in and time out, I sit on the call here at Roy Griak. An athlete comes out and just has put in those big summer mileage, has done a lot of great sessions, has maybe 1 or 2 low-key meets under their belt, and then they get to Roy Griak and they're ready to rip.
Riley ranked number 39 in the DieStat rankings coming into this week, and boy, you have to think that will hold, if not improve. Ellie Maddox of Sioux Falls Christian ranked number 42, just for a little bit of context. Hannah Genrich in the top 45 as well. So these are athletes that have seen each other. They'll see each other again. This Heartland region, as we like to say, runs through Roy Griak, certainly. And Brianna Riley, wow, as we said, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pick, who our leader or perhaps our winner would be. I'm not sure I would have picked Riley, though. She's proven us all wrong.
Oh, I agree. I think the one thing I did have right coming into this Roy Griak, which I will say, Trevor, is few and far between, is that I kind of thought Wayzata would come in and kind of run away with it on the team side. As we see the scores getting tallied up and compiled from the 2-mile split.
Riley, of course, leading there, 11:03 through that 2-mile split. It is Gullickson who's moved up well ahead of Hannah Genrich. Still holding on to third is Genrich of Harrisburg, but Maddie Gullickson, if Wayzata is to win this team title, it will be on the shoulders of Maddie Gullickson, who was fourth here a year ago, and looking to improve upon that. A big hill upcoming here. You see the athletic course tracker letting us know where we are, and said it time and again, it's not exactly smooth sailing once you get up this big hill, but it's certainly not the same ascent that you have dreaded in the back of your mind when you look at this course map. So if she can get up here in that lead comfortably, as of now, almost 20 seconds her lead for Brianna Riley, I don't think that gap's getting closed.
No, I think it's only getting extended here. And it's just such cool, calm, and collected running. She hasn't looked back. She hasn't really faltered. That was probably the first grimace that we've seen as she kind of goes through that mud there. But overall, it's been one foot in front of the other of just smooth, confident running.
Such poise and maturity from the youngster, just an 8th grader, mixing it up with the veterans here. Well, she's a veteran herself after winning the state cross-country championship AA a year ago, and 6th in that championship NXR Heartland race that we mentioned, and first or second in all of her cross-country races over 5,000 meters a year ago up until that NXR region. So, I mean, just incredible. Can you imagine 8th grade and already so much experience? It sounds crazy to say, such a veteran already in just in 8th grade. It's incredible from Brianna Riley.
Yeah, and it's surprising that she's one of the few athletes that doesn't come into this meet undefeated. She was beat earlier this season, and that's kind of surprising based on the performance that we see out of her today. Took second in that Augustana Twilight meet, as you mentioned, and only by 7 seconds or so, but she has been training for a while. Brianna Riley, again, not just in track, Ben, but, we see this sometimes. She came over from triathlon, believe it or not, which even still sounds crazy to say for such a youngster already having a background in a different sport, but talk about VO2 max and just the endurance here, coming over from triathlon, where she had some accolades there as well. Now really showing her chops cross country, and we'll see more on the track as well. Man, that is such a great story, and just hopefully she continues to kind of develop that swimming, that biking, kind of doing everything. But this is really a sure display of endurance and great racing.
Caveat being, let's not lose her to the triathlon. Great sport in its own right, certainly, but selfishly, I'd love to keep seeing Brianna Riley and her talent on the cross-country course and on the track as well. But into this finishing stretch, look at that gap. What an iconic view here of what is going to be an astounding victory for Brianna Riley, and a commanding one. Barely anyone in the picture having crested the hill behind her, but Brianna Riley taking it to a lot of the other veterans and taking victory. 18:01 or so. Let's get the official. 17:58, in fact, for the Harrisburg 8th grader. Brianna Riley takes victory. Holy smokes, Ben, what a win.
Yeah, that was a dominating win. As she comes in, we can't forget about the team scores. I think that's the cool part about cross country is that it's still a team sport, and Brianna getting one point for her team, and we'll see how the rest shake out.
So going under 18 minutes is an accomplishment in its own right, but how about picking up the victory as well? Riley takes the victory for Harrisburg. Maddie Gullickson hangs on there for Wayzata in second, 18:25. Hannah Ginrich there in third, 18:38. And you're exactly right. So the team battle now will start to sort out, and this is that moment, Ben, that we talk about time and again. Hurry up and wait. Let's get these calculated. Get your scratch pad out. Did I count right? When there's so many people coming in, it's hard to do visually, but we'll let the timers sort it out, and Wayzata would love to take victory here after second a year ago.
Yeah, Wayzata is definitely looking to win this one. But here, as we see athletes come in, here's two Wayzata jerseys. But you can see as athletes kind of start to falter, they can give up such big points within these final stretches. An entire pack passes you, and you could go from, a secure victory to a close second.
Every spot matters. That's what Coach says time and time again here in cross country. It's a team sport. You focus on the individual, certainly, and good team running there from Harrisburg. Let's give them their credit, going 1-3 with Genrich there in third. But Maddie Gullickson, as we expected, features prominently for that team pursuit of Wayzata. Ellie Maddox finished down in fifth there for Sioux Falls Christian. And Laura McCullough there in fourth. What's your top five? So you see the finishers on your screen there, top three, and then the rest. But we'll count up. It does look, if those are correct, if Wayzata has gotten their top five through, I think they will be tough to beat.
Yeah, I agree. And now you can see how those points just add up and add up as we have just waves of athletes coming across that finish line.
Again, for reference, last year, well, individually, that was a faster win than a year ago. Ella Hagan, 18:02. But for Cardinal Gibbons taking victory, it was 94 points. Wayzata was second with 124.
Yeah, I think if you haven't had your top five come in yet, you're not looking to be within this top three. Just kind of waiting for these points to compile here and give you a final score here in a little bit.
But all the credit certainly to Brianna Riley, and we'll hear from her shortly, already picking up big wins across, well, all events and all sports. Had a lot of accolades on the track. As we mentioned, the junior champion for the triathlon as well, and did well at the Brooks PR Invitational, winning the 1600 there. Let's go down and hear from Brianna Riley.
And we're now back at the finish line with the winner of the championship girls division. She's only an 8th grader, Brianna Riley, South Dakota. What's in the water at Harrisburg? You girls are very young and very, very talented. State champion last year as a 7th grader. Now a Griak champion. Are you able to soak in what you've accomplished?
Not really. I'm just really glad I have so many awesome teammates to help support me through this. I couldn't have done this without them. And I'm just thankful that God gave me the ability to come out here and run. It was an awesome experience and a great field of athletes, and it's just an awesome venue.
You know, and the top athletes in the Heartland region here, and not only, in 4 or 5 different states, but the confidence you showed by just going out and moving to the front, knowing there were so many talented young ladies running today, that seems pretty courageous for an 8th grader. We obviously have a lot of faith in your ability.
I just know that sometimes I don't have the greatest finish when I'm tired at the end of the race, so I try and either go out hard or make a move in the middle so I can gap enough and just try and finish hard.
Well, you finished hard today. You started hard. You ran hard in the middle. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
8th grader, Harrisburg, South Dakota, Brianna Riley, your Griak champion.
Brianna Riley, remember the name. One of the few times we've seen a sub 18-minute clocking here on this course. So impressive from the 8th grader. It bears repeating once again. And as we said, Ben, if you don't remember the name, you know it now. Brianna Riley of Harrisburg taking victory there, and it looks like we'll let these shake out a little bit more, but usually by this point I think we can trust those team results here, and I do think Wayzata is going to take victory, perhaps with under 100 points.
Yeah, that's fantastic score for the Roy Griak Invitational.
Well, and with so many bodies, that's what we talk about in these championship races. So many racers, you know, sometimes it's apples to oranges from one race to another, but of course it depends on the placing. So Cardinal Gibbons last year won it with 94. Wayzata won 24. But this year, they look to be the team champions. That was the goal, and they came in led by Maddie Gullickson, and seems that they have taken care of business. You see the top 3 teams there on your screen as our finishers continue to trickle in, but man, just absolute dominance from Brianna Riley.
No, I totally agree. The one thing I want to point out really quick about Wayzata is if you look through their whole portfolio of athletes that were on display today, they're 6th, 7th. You know, it's 52 and 83. Just means they have such a great depth of talent that even if one of their athletes maybe doesn't have the best day, they still have low points to turn to, where sometimes you might have those really strong up front runners, but if you don't have anybody to fill in, if your athlete gets sick, or unfortunately the sport is brutal and injuries happen, and if you don't have those opportunities to fill in points, then you know your bid to go to state or go on to a national championship could be at risk.
Depth is so important in cross country, absolutely. Coming in as one of the top teams in the nation, and this will certainly continue to bolster that ranking. Gullickson, as we mentioned, 2nd overall, and we saw Jasleen Malarek-Osorio and Miley Clark go 20 and 21. Some good grouping there for them. Alyssa Ledman in 34th and Aubrey Smith down in 50th. But like you said, 62nd for Chloe Kissel. So, you know, anything can happen throughout the season. Somebody, you know, has a minor injury or depending on the day, has a bad day. We've seen it time and again. Somebody who was maybe the 6th or 7th runner ends up coming up and being a major scorer for these teams. And so cross country certainly is not just 5 athletes. Yes, those are the ones that get scored, but at the end of the day, you need that group, you need the team, and boy, Wayzata sure seems to have it. Well, as we see our finishers here, plenty more action to come here at day number 2 of the Roy Griak Invitational. We'll have 2 more editions for both the boys and the girls. We'll go to the Gopher 5K, followed by the Gold 5Ks to close out today's action. And as always, Ben, living up to the hype throughout the collegiate races yesterday. We recapped earlier. These high school championships have lived up to the billing and perhaps really firmly cemented a new star in Brianna Riley. Not that she hasn't already been making a name for herself, but big win here at Roy Griak and plenty more to come.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Trevor. I think one thing just to mention is just keep building that team culture. I think that's what Wayzata has had for such a long time, and that's why they continue to be such a dominant team.
Runnerspace Plus is your home for the top cross-country meets this fall. Our platform offers the most extensive live and on-demand programming in the country. Here's our fall lineup. Whether it's key national meets or the best in regional action, Runnerspace has you covered. Sign up for Runnerspace Plus today at plus.runnerspace.com.
How could you not be excited as the race now is underway? Championship racing.
This is going to be a fantastic.
We've reached Championship Saturday for the best in high school cross country as the top teams and the top individuals from around the country descend upon Portland, Oregon for the Nike Cross National. Oh no! He will be the Nike Cross National Champion. Kane Hedegren is all by herself. Sixth and final round of the competition. She needs a big one here to get on the podium. Look at that release. Feeling athletic? Get the Athletic app.
Ooh, $1.
Ah, good.
Oh, hey, jerk, give me that. I'm saving up for Runnerspace Plus subscription. This baby put me over the top.
I wouldn't pay for that. I don't like to support stuff. Woo, stinky.
Dude, do you always throw away your socks? That's your Plus subscription right there.
Seriously?
With a Plus subscription, you'll gain access to all our live webcasts and the largest archive of running videos anywhere on the planet. Or you could just be like him.
Well, we've concluded our high school girls championship race here, and here's how we got here. It ended up being a dominant win for Brianna Riley. A lot of teams in contention early. We saw so much talent on paper and so much quality, but at the end it was the 8th grader who took care of business. But some good finishes from a couple others in the top 5 as well, Ben. Coming through here after the first early goings of this, Brianna Riley took care of business, and those other athletes, some of whom we highlighted early on, she made quick work of a very, very good, again, just an 8th grader. She led her teammate, and Hannah Genrich came through in 3rd, but Maddie Gullickson held on for 2nd for Wyzetta to lead them to the team title. And Lauren McCullough there for Menominee after coming up from that maroon race where they've won a couple of team titles. Finished in 4th with Ellie Maddox in 5th, but it was all about this young lady, Brianna Riley of Harrisburg, coming in under 18 minutes, an incredible time, and a very, very quality win for someone who just seems to keep getting better, Ben.
Yeah, it just keeps developing as the seasons have gone on, and hopefully learning from the wealth of opportunities they've had. It'll be curious to see how her next few years treat her and see where she goes, right? You mentioned earlier in the broadcast about she did some triathlons, and now she's, just crushing it on the cross-country course.
Track accolades as well, winning that Brooks PR junior mile. So keep an eye out for Brianna Riley. Plenty more to come here from the Les Bolstadt Golf Course on the campus of the University of Minnesota. Four races, I should say, remain here on day number 2. The Gopher 5Ks and the Gold 5K, so plenty more action. Don't go anywhere right here on Renner Space. I'm Trevor Fulkerson, joined by Ben Blankenship. And Ben, I mean, this is where a lot of it really started for you.
Yeah, I was a Minnesota athlete for a few years, went through the high school program there, and then went to college at the University of Minnesota, and then got an opportunity. But realistically, for me, it started, just one race at a time.
So many great athletes have come through this Roy Griak Invitational.